key to advance career opportunities and financial security. The issues involved here today, I think, are a little more complex. What's needed is educational opportunities that help support all needs of personal education and intellectual development. Today we're in a novel time as we recently emerged from the restrictive environment of COVID and the pre-COVID world. We received much of our education by the traditional format, meaning in-person training in a brick-and-mortar structure. However, after the entry of COVID, we've evolved to extensive virtual classrooms, reduced in-person training, and that's followed by hybrids. My focus today is on continuing education and on the expanding and varied needs of those entering the workplace and those that are already there. Looking closely, we may observe that a significant number of those in the workplace now hold jobs that did not exist when they entered the secondary school systems. This highlights how difficult it is to predict what jobs will become available to future school graduates. As we all can see, technological skills required of today's grads are constantly evolving. Understanding basic computer and Word is not enough. Among us today are those that have some level of proficiency with these systems such as Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, etc. However, those not having these proficiencies can expect to experience some challenges in the future as they go forward because they need the advanced technological skills. I believe we want to encourage and promote education and training that helps those in the workplace navigate the evolving daily challenges. Regardless of our varied professional disciplines, we represent that the importance of education and continuous personal growth and development is very apparent, especially when viewing the lack of it. In an organization, the best assets are its people. A progressive organization mandates the retention of people with expertise beyond the basic fundamentals required for their position. They desire experience and training that demonstrates not only intelligence, but also seeks to develop workforce with skills of communication, the ability to function within a team, and the ability to demonstrate sound judgment. All of the aforementioned can aid in strengthening the organization's overall capability, meaning its capability to anticipate and react to coming changes, and those changes coming around the corner. As a former manager from the federal government sector, I've experienced and observed the benefits or impact from offering broad-based opportunities for continuous growth and development. This latter training often involves technical and specialty guidance training of all stripes in technological areas. Much training might focus on today, in the world that we are in right now, might focus on the cultural complexities of the diverse population. The end result being a broadly educated and skilled workforce better adapted to the evolving changes expected. Opportunities for continuous training today do evolve. They're here, in abundance. And I urge that we all continue to try to strive and take advantage of them, and we can go much further. Thank you.
So structured, and I know the governor talked about education and technology. So it leads us into our next speaker, Ms. Tammie Miller, charter leader, Family Child Care Providers.
Good morning. Good morning, Your Excellencies and esteemed guests. I am the chapter chair for the United Federation of Teachers. I represent more than 15,000 early childhood educators throughout the city of New York. And I want to say a few things. I'm going to scrap my presentation because I have a few minutes. But I'm going to say learning begins at birth, not at pre-K, not at kindergarten. So we must push ourselves and consider for a moment a novel idea that early education is in fact the foundation of learning. We must move forward and understand that all children, irregardless of where they are in the world, learning begins at birth, and they are all entitled to the civil and human right of an education. And as though many people say nothing's free, education is one of those things that should be free, because if we do not have an educated community, we do not strive and exist as a community. Thank you. I want to be part of an ongoing conversation of future solution-driven dialogue to define more sustainable models of inclusivity, equity, and diversity for learners. In my conclusion, I'm going to say this. Any statehood, government, country seeking to improve and stabilize and enhance their locality, they should consider that economic wellness, financial stabilization should be prioritized all around early childhood education. If we get nothing else from today, get that learning begins at birth. I thank you so much for the compliment of giving us
I agree, it begins at birth. In the interest of time, we're going to move on to our next speaker, Dr. Patricia McDougall from a Peace Ambassador.
Good afternoon, members of the Diplomatic Corps, government officials, students, educators, and special guests. It is a pleasure to be a part of the roadmap for the Decade of Action on SDG 4 in communities at the United Nations. The Decade of Action on Sustainable Development Goals for Equality Education with our global village must be identified, developed, cemented, and embraced within a comprehensive context. The urgent call for the reimagining, reevaluating, redefining modalities, technologies, and platforms for learning and education must be answered in the Decade of Action with reliable and practical measures. The urgency for bridging the communication gap between the sustainable ways of teaching, learning, and disseminating information in our community learning centers, schools are up for sustainable review and immediate action. The local, national, and international impact that COVID-19 has wrought on digital education and technology are profound and far-reaching with potential critical implications. The potential of the latter is glaring us sparkly in the face unless we make concerted effort to seek redress. Yet, we can still overcome the odds by implementing research-based programs as outlined in the SDG 4 agenda. Sustainability is key to those endeavors. With substantial programming in place, we can together reach the most remote and vulnerable, the most disadvantaged and castaways, as well as those with the most potential. It is by building sustainable bridges that we shall together succeed in crossing the divine over to a more equitable grounds. I thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have our next presenter, Lady Dr. Abena, all the way from Ghana, proprietor from school, SENSELS School.
Your Excellencies, UN representatives, our distinguished convener, Dr. Ada Okika, fellow educators, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Indeed, I'd like to quickly reiterate that we cannot lose global momentum any longer. I speak with passion and I speak with urgency based on the part of the world I am coming from, and as a missionary on the field. COVID-19 indeed has been a great teacher, and as educators, as stakeholders, what are the lessons here for us? What do you do with a child who sits under a tree daily as a classroom? What do you do with a teacher who has to cross rivers and walk miles to get to a class to teach? What do you do with a child you want to introduce basic computer education to, who lives in total darkness in a community denied of electricity in this century? Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the government of Ghana has done a great job and is still at it, but partnership here is key. Funding goes a long way to help. My humble suggestions and solutions here: training and empowering community organizers, introducing great teacher initiatives, motivational packages, because teachers have stopped saying that their reward is in heaven. And that is, yes, of course, from the part of the world I am coming from. They want a reward right here. Every worker is worthy of their reward. Introducing girl-child education, community by community, and introducing mother skill development programs, transitioning from old methodologies in education and getting our students to know and accept their tradition and basically the background where they're coming from. I want to urge and to plead with every mother here: the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. We're talking about action beginning now. And I would like to say action must start from our homes and now, mothers. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Presise Halley, all the way from Atlanta, professor, CEO of P6 Brand Marketing. Mr. Halley.
Hello, my name is, can you hear me? Yes. Here we go. Hello, my name is Paul Presise Halley, and I specialize in brand marketing and business coaching. I would like to thank Dr. Ada Okika, Dr. Monica Sanchez, my fellow panelists, ambassadors, and distinguished guests for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I would like to discuss how technology empowers education in underserved communities. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an incredible time. This is the first time in history that the entire world is connected. Because of this, I believe that we need to look at education differently. I'm not against the traditional way of education, but the new way is much better, and I believe that children will take to it faster and easier. The traditional way of education used to be so you could find a job and a career to make money to support your family and friends. We could obtain the same goals by using a brand new tool. In 2022, the internet is the most important tool for education. During the pandemic, everyone in this room quickly realized that using the internet was the only way we could access each other. It gave us access to all the information in the world. That's why I promote online education. From college to high school to primary school, online education is the new amazing tool. But I also think the best tool online for education is YouTube. My friends call it YouTube University. Children can learn to do anything from anyone in the world. You can choose from thousands of teachers. You can learn how to fix a car, do graphic design, invest in stocks, solve math problems, or even speak another language. I personally learned graphic design and web design on the YouTube platform. I get paid thousands of dollars for the skills I've learned online. Plus, there's other platforms like Teachable and Thinkific that kids can use to learn. But you may ask, how does this help a child in a small village in Nigeria? I believe giving children access to technology like cell phones, tablets, or maybe computers, plus some direction, would change their life forever. So how do I know this? My graphic designer that I use lives in a small village in Bangladesh. My social media manager lives in a small town in the Philippines. My other graphic designer lives in Nigeria. I have a friend named Flaco who's from the Campo of Dominican Republic. He fixes American people's credit for a living. He drives a Range Rover, owns 2 condos, and he learned how to do this online. He's never been to the United States in his life. He even learned English online. All of these young people are self-taught by simply having access to the internet and having access to the tools. Because of time, I want to kind of skip ahead, but I just wanted to say that there's thousands of new opportunities and tools that we could give the youth to give them access to technology. And in conclusion, I just want to not knock the old way of doing things, but just introduce you to the new tools that we use every day. And I know during the pandemic that we all were on Zoom in this room, and we all were forced to use new technology. So we all know this firsthand, that using new technology is the new way of doing things. Thank you.
Our next speaker is there you are. That's right. Our next speaker is Massimo.
Hello, everybody. Yes. So I'm very happy to be here, really. I work in the Hubbard Public Relations Office, Mr. Hubbard being the founder of SENSELS. And I wanted to thank very much Dr. Okita for her kind invitation. In my speech, I will talk about the true factors that bring about quality in schools. The first factor is purpose. Mr. Hubbard, during his research, discovered that the purpose of education is to increase the self-determinism of the individual. And that, in essence, what education should do, to provide the tools by which individuals can find out for themselves the reality of life. Learn how to learn, and not what to learn. Another factor is that learning is a mental process, and here we have one of the major problems that affect the infrastructure of education worldwide: the lack of knowledge about the anatomy of the mind and how it works. The mind is the system we use to learn. There hasn't been any effective knowledge about the mind. The third important factor that should be present in any schools, starting from kindergarten, will be to teach what the barriers to study are, in order to bring about a true understanding. Mr. Hubbard discovered that when you try to learn something, whether it be reading the news or a coffee maker manual or studying math, you will always face one or more of three exact barriers. If you don't know what these barriers are, you will have, to various degrees, trouble learning. It is as simple as that. Functional illiteracy, school dropouts, and the dramatic high rates of crime are totally connected as the direct result of individuals that cannot truly learn, and thus will unlikely be successful in life. Not knowing what these barriers are, students are developing unusual solutions to try to learn. Learning verbatim is one of them, but a parrot can repeat words and phrases but does not understand their meaning, and therefore cannot act properly. Mr. Hubbard, as a scientist, made important discoveries about the mind and about learning. In summary, it was the discovery of the anatomy of the mind and how it works that led Mr. Hubbard to locate the three barriers to study and develop the study technology to overcome these barriers. These are the very basics that bring about education. Without knowing what these are and how to address them, there is no hope for a good education. Excellency and friends, I would like to conclude with these words by L. Ron Hubbard. As long as children and young men and women find pleasure in study, they will continue study throughout life, and upon that depends their happiness. Thank you very much.